These drawings are by Mary Louise Baker, whose portrait is here. She was an artist for the museum and did just really beautiful work. I mean, I'd really encourage you to look closely at this. My understanding is that her drawings were incredibly faithful to not just the spirit of what she was looking at, but also the detail, to such a degree that scholars could do a lot of work based on some of these drawings. And Ellen, maybe you could talk about how sort of these inspired you and brought you to the exhibit.
I'll do that when we get to the exhibit.
Course, yeah.
This is you.
Absolutely. So you can see what she would do is she has a drawing of the cylinder and then a rollout, which, you know, is sort of a struggle to create a convention so that you can show both that it's continuous but sort of in a linear format. And what it does is sort of gives you a sense of the story that these objects give. So Mary Louise Baker worked for the museum. Do you remember the years that she was there?
1908 to 1936.
1908 to 1936. And she did really amazing things for us. In this photo, you can see her reconstructing an item. This is the lyre from ore.
And you'll see that.
And you'll see that, indeed, in the galleries. This is a previous reconstruction, and she sort of filled in some of the details, the artistic details from the object that were no longer extant. Later, there was some, I think actually it was Leonard Woolley, the famous archaeologist, who said this is all wrong, and they redid the reconstruction, which some people think looks like a piece of IKEA furniture, so I actually prefer this one. But as you can see, she just had a wonderful hand, and she went on to sort of illustrate a lot of things from the museum. We have objects from ore that she created illustrations from, a mummy sheath, actually, that's incredibly beautiful. I should have pulled it out. And all of this went together in a number of publications. We actually just got a grant to have a lot of these drawings restored and hopefully published, and maybe we can do it.
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah, so it's very exciting.
As part of the grant, we have to publish the paintings, so that's very good.
It's a long time coming, I think.
Yes.
I think the world needs to see all of these things. Something that I want to show you that I find just so charming is from her notebook. And this is, you can see, she's making notes about the different objects, and then you have her beautiful sketches that are just sort of pasted in here and colored. And it's pretty wonderful stuff. We have a lot of records from her, actually. She was really influential at the museum. And I think that there's a lot of scholarship left to be done on her and her legacy. I'd also like to show you Robert Burkett's items. And just to give you a sense of contrast, this is one of Burkett's sketches of one of these pots, and you can see sort of the artistic gap between him and Baker. Again, it's very competent, very scholarly, but it doesn't sort of have the same soul as you can see in Baker's drawings. And he had gone to Guatemala, and Ellen will tell you a lot about this in the
More
exhibit.
than you ever wanted to.
Indeed. But he was sort of at the beginning, I guess, of looking at some of this Maya archaeology in a way of, especially in this area of Shema. So here you have his map of the area and then some plans of the sites. This is Burkett looking very gentlemanly, and then this is Burkett on a horse looking very adventuresome. So you can see both sides of that. And then I'd like to, since part of your project, I read the email that came through our Public Information Office, and it sounds like your project is about America in 100 days, so I thought I'd show you some American things. These are some of my favorite things in the whole archives, and these are prints by Edward Curtis, and Curtis was a photographer of the American West. But something to keep in mind is he was a photographer of the American West in the very early 20th century when the American West was dying. So these portraits that you see of American Indians are, as you can see, romanticized, and they are of a civilization that's that would not exist in that way again. He also manipulated his subjects in a way that many critics have a problem with, quite rightly, that he would, for instance, in this portrait, you would have, the warrior on his horse, and he'd look at it and say, you don't look quite Indian enough, let's put a few more feathers in. So there's sort of this sense of, he's not creating a document or a record, he's creating a portrait, an idealized figure of the American West. These are incredibly beautiful, incredibly interesting, and not necessarily because they document sort of American Indian culture, but because they document the interactions between artists and the American imagination at this time with American Indians. And then the last thing I'd like to show you is a piece of museum history, because my understanding is you came to this museum because it's sort of